The quiet afternoon shatters with the wail of sirens as two police cruisers screech into the cafe's parking lot. Jamal Harris looks up from his phone, confusion flashing across his face as uniformed officers leap out, hands hovering near their holsters. The chatter of nearby patrons fades, replaced by the tension crackling in the air. "Put your hands where we can see them," an officer shouts, his voice sharp with authority. Jamal blinks, his breath catching in his throat. "Wait, what's going on? I didn't do anything." The officers move in, their stony expressions unreadable. Karen Whitmore stands nearby, arms crossed, a smug smirk tugging at her lips. "Took you long enough," she huffs. "I told you he looked suspicious." Jamal's fingers tremble as he slowly lifts his hands, his mind racing. The cafe patrons watch in stunned silence, some recording the scene with their phones, while others glance away, unwilling to get involved. The lead officer narrows his eyes. "ID now." Jamal swallows hard. "It's in my pocket." "Move slow," the second officer warns. Jamal carefully reaches into his hoodie, his fingers brushing against the smooth plastic of his school ID. His hands shake as he pulls it out and holds it up. The officer snatches it and squints at the card. Jamal Harris, 17, Harvard Summer Program. His brow furrows as he flips it over, as if searching for something suspicious. Karen scoffs, rolling her eyes. "Oh, come on, that's obviously fake. A thug in a Harvard hoodie? I don't think so." The officer studies Jamal's face, hesitation flickering for a brief second before his stance hardens again. "Turn around," he orders, pulling out a pair of handcuffs. Jamal's stomach drops. "You can't be serious," Karen smirks. "Better safe than sorry." Just as the officer reaches for Jamal's wrist, a sharp, commanding voice slices through the tension. "I suggest you take your hands off my son. Right, now." Heads whip around. A sleek black Mercedes pulls up and the door swings open. Out steps a woman in a crisp navy blue pantsuit, her heels clicking against the pavement with measured authority. Jamal's heart leaps. "Mom," he breathes in relief. Karen's smirk falters as she takes in the woman's presence, the way the officers suddenly stiffen, eyes widening in recognition. The lead officer swallows hard. Madam Attorney General." Karen's face drains of color. The officers tighten their grip on Jamal as they push him against the cold metal of the police cruiser. His pulse races, his breath sharp and uneven. The cafe patrons watch in silence, some shifting uncomfortably but unwilling to step forward. A few pull out their phones, recording the escalating scene. Karen folds her arms, a smug smile curling on her lips. She tilts her head toward her friend and mutters just loud enough for others to hear. "See? This is exactly why they don't belong in neighborhoods like this." Jamal clenches his jaw. "I was just standing here, waiting for my mom," he insists, his voice steady but edged with frustration. Officer number 1 scoffs, barely looking at him. "We got a call about a suspicious individual matching your description." Jamal's hands curl into fists at his sides. "Description? You mean a black kid in a hoodie?" Karen steps forward, her eyes gleaming with self-righteousness. "He was acting shady, walking back and forth, looking into cars." She shrugs. "I did the right thing calling you." Jamal turns to her, disbelief flashing in his eyes. "That's a lie. I wasn't looking at anything. I was just on my phone." Officer number 2 ignores him as he begins patting him down. Jamal stiffens, his skin crawling at the unnecessary roughness. His jaw tightens, his shoulders squared. He's done nothing wrong, but that doesn't seem to matter. Karen, watching with satisfaction, leans toward her friend. That should teach these types to stay where they belong. The officers remain focused on their task, but a flicker of doubt flashes across Officer number 1's face when nothing suspicious turns up in Jamal's pockets. He exchanges a look with his partner. Just then, the radio strapped to his vest crackles to life. "Dispatcher, hold that suspect. His mother is on the way." A shift in the air. The officers glance at each other. Karen's smug expression falters. Jamal breathes heavily, his heart hammering in his chest. He doesn't know what's about to happen, but one thing is certain. This is far from over. Judge Olivia Harris strides toward the officers, her expression fierce and unyielding. The once busy cafe has fallen into complete silence. All eyes are on her as she closes the distance between herself and her son. "Take your hands off my son. Now," she commands, her voice sharp, unwavering. The officers hesitate, momentarily stunned. The weight of authority in her tone is undeniable. Karen, still standing with her arms crossed, watches in disbelief. Her face drains of color as realization dawns. "Wait, that's his mother?" she whispers, voice barely audible. Officer number 1, still gripping Jamal's arm, stammers, "Ma'am, we were just responding to a call." Olivia doesn't let him finish. With a swift motion, she pulls a sleek leather case from her handbag and flips it open. Inside, her official identification gleams under the sun. "Oh, I know exactly what you were doing," she says coldly. "You racially profiled my son, detained him without cause, and now you're fumbling for an excuse." Officer number 2 shifts uncomfortably. "Ma'am, we were just following procedure." "Procedure?" Olivia snaps. "False imprisonment is not procedure. Physically restraining a minor without probable cause is not procedure. Do I need to remind you that every second you keep him here, you're violating his civil rights?" Jamal exhales, tension releasing from his body as the officers reluctantly loosen their grip. He rubs his wrist where their hands had been, his gaze flicking toward his mother with gratitude and awe. Officer number 1's face is now visibly pale. "Ma'am, we didn't know—" "That he was the son of a federal judge?" Olivia interjects, narrowing her eyes. "And if he wasn't? If I were just another black mother without a title, you think I wouldn't be here right now demanding answers?" The officers exchange panicked glances, knowing there's no easy way out of this. Karen, who had been standing smugly moments before, suddenly looks like she wants to disappear. I was just being cautious," she mumbles. Olivia slowly turns toward her. "Cautious? You saw a young black man in a hoodie and decided he was a criminal. You called the police without a shred of proof. Do you have any idea what could have happened to my son because of your reckless assumption?" Karen swallows hard, her confidence crumbling. The cafe customers, once silent, start murmuring amongst themselves. A few shake their heads while others glare at Karen with disgust. Officer number 2 clears his throat. "Ma'am, we deeply apologize." Olivia doesn't even look at him. "You will be filing a formal report of this incident, and I will personally be ensuring that this never happens again. To my son, or to any other innocent black teenager who dares to exist in public." The officers nod frantically, stepping back. Jamal, finally free, stands beside his mother. Olivia places a protective hand on his shoulder and looks at the officers one last time. "You messed up," she says, her voice calm but firm. "And this will not be forgotten." Karen's nervous laughter falters as Olivia steps even closer, her heels clicking sharply against the pavement. The confidence Karen had moments ago is gone, replaced with sheer panic. "Oh, I didn't mean any harm. I was just being cautious," Karen blurts, her voice laced with desperation. Olivia tilts her head, her expression cold and unrelenting. "Cautious? Or racist?" Karen gasps, shaking her head furiously. I didn't know. He looked—" Olivia doesn't let her finish. She takes another step, her piercing gaze locked onto Karen's. "Tell me something," Olivia says, voice smooth yet lethal. "If my son was white, would you have called the police?" Karen's mouth opens, but no words come out. She stammers, eyes darting around as if searching for an escape. But there is none. The weight of the question hangs heavy in the air. The officers, now fully aware of their mistake, fumble to unshackle Jamal's wrists. Officer number 2 clears his throat. "Ma'am, we deeply apologize." Olivia raises a hand, silencing him with a single glance. Save it, she says coolly, because come Monday morning you'll be answering to an internal affairs investigation. Both officers stiffen, their faces going ghostly pale. Karen's hands tremble. Let's not blow this out of proportion, she pleads. No need to involve lawyers. Olivia lets out a low chuckle, one that sends a chill down Karen's spine. Who said anything about lawyers? She asks. I am the law. Karen's knees almost buckle. The entire cafe watches in stunned silence, some recording the moment on their phones. Whispers ripple through the crowd. Did she just say she's a judge? This woman just destroyed them. I can't believe they did that to the poor kid. Jamal rolls his wrists, feeling the sting from where the cuffs had been. His mother looks him over, her expression softening only for a moment. Are you all right, baby? She asks. Jamal nods. Yeah, Mom, now I am. Karen, still sweating, glances around, realizing how many people are witnessing her downfall. She clutches her purse, looking for an escape route. I just thought, she stutters. Olivia raises an eyebrow. That a black kid in a hoodie didn't belong in your neighborhood? Karen's lips press into a thin line, but she doesn't respond. Olivia takes one last look at the officers. You should be ashamed of yourselves. If my son were anyone else, he could have been hurt. Or worse. Officer number 1 swallows hard, but he has nothing to say. Olivia turns to Jamal, placing an arm around his shoulder. Let's go, she says. They walk toward their SUV, heads held high. Behind them, Karen stands frozen, humiliated and exposed. Justice has been served. As Olivia and Jamal turn to leave, the cafe doors burst open, and a local reporter rushes out, microphone in hand. The flash of cameras follows. Judge Harris, the reporter calls. Do you care to comment on what just happened here? Karen's breath catches in her throat. She spins around, eyes wide with panic. Oh my God, no, this is going viral? A customer sitting by the window smirks, holding up their phone, the recording light still blinking. Too late, they say, barely concealing their amusement. Olivia casts one last glance at Karen, her smirk cool and effortless. Looks like the world will see exactly who you are. Karen's hands start shaking as she lunges toward the reporter, desperate. Please, I didn't mean it. It was a misunderstanding, she babbles, her voice climbing in pitch. I donate to charities. I have black friends. Jamal scoffs, crossing his arms. Yeah, sure you do. The murmurs around the cafe turn to quiet laughter. Some shake their heads, others glare at Karen, but no one comes to her rescue. She turns in circles, frantically looking for someone, anyone, to back her up. But she's alone. Olivia places a firm, reassuring hand on her son's shoulder. Come on, baby, she says smoothly. We've wasted enough time on people like her. As they walk toward their SUV, Karen's frantic voice follows them. Wait, I'm not racist. This isn't fair. But the cameras keep rolling, capturing every desperate word. She clutches her designer purse, her breathing ragged as she turns back to the reporter. You're not going to air this, are you? She pleads, her perfect suburban facade crumbling. The reporter barely suppresses a smirk. Ma'am, this story is already everywhere. Karen's face goes pale. A few feet away, the officers stand stiffly, trying to remain unseen. But their shame is evident, and they too realize that their actions have just become national news. Jamal laughs under his breath as he opens the car door. This is better than TV. Olivia nods in agreement. And the best part? She did it to herself. As they drive away, the last thing they see is Karen, frozen in horror, watching as her perfect reputation disintegrates before her very eyes. As Olivia and Jamal drive away, the tension in the car finally starts to fade. The warm glow of the setting sun casts long shadows across the dashboard. Jamal leans back, exhaling deeply, still processing what just happened. Mom? he says quietly, glancing over at her. Did you ever get treated like that growing up? Olivia keeps her eyes on the road, but her expression darkens slightly. More times than I can count, she admits. But the difference is, back then, we didn't always have the power to fight back. People like her got away with it. Jamal frowns, staring out the window. So what changed? Olivia smiles knowingly. We did. Jamal absorbs that, nodding slowly. It just makes me so mad. She didn't even know me. She just assumed that you were a threat, Olivia finishes, her voice steady. Because people like her see blackness and think danger. That's why we don't stay silent. That's why we hold them accountable. A small smile tugs at Jamal's lips. Well, I think you scared the life out of her. Olivia chuckles. Good. Meanwhile, back at the cafe, Karen clutches her phone,